everyone. Welcome back, and we are at Whiskey Rapids tonight again with Becca, Alicia, and Allison. We're going to go through a flow that's going to turn on through your core a little bit, get some blood flowing, and get us ready for spring. So go ahead, as usual, get yourself started wherever you find the most comfort. If you want to sit, lie, but pick a spot that you can shut down your eyes. And give yourself that time to acknowledge everything happening around you. Follow that noise or that sound for as long as you can until something else pops in to distract you. Bring your attention to the feeling of your breath. Can you follow it in through your nose or your mouth? And if you can, where does it sit in your body? Where do you feel the most expansion and lengthening? Taking a few more deep breaths, just watching how much of your body you can fill up, expand. And then on the exhale, what happens? Can you soften? Can you relax a little bit? Let your breath return to a natural rhythm. Again, check in with your surroundings. Notice your mood. I had heard a quote the other day that said, each time you can acknowledge a distracting noise or thought, you're bringing yourself to that present moment. So even if you feel distracted, if you're acknowledging it, you're practicing that awareness and being present. Set an intention for your focus today. When you catch that distraction, where do you want to turn your attention? Take in a deep breath. Hold on to it for a moment. Take in a little more. And release. Give yourself a moment just to move, stretch through your neck, your shoulders. If you're laying down, take that full body stretch or twist. Work your way up into a seated position, and if you've already been there for a little bit, you can switch your legs around or take a different seat. Let's start with some big circles. So you can have your hands anchored in on your lap, and you're just going to move your shoulders in circles over your hips. Roll around on any knots you can feel at your thighs and your glutes. Change the direction. test your balance a little bit just by seeing how far you can go before you start to roll your chin. Pull your shoulders in towards your ears. Stay here for a breath in. Round a little bit further as you exhale. Seated cow. We're going to push into our legs. Lift up your heart. Squeeze your shoulder blades back. Stay here. Lift your heart a little higher. And stay for the exhale. Now let's come into a tabletop position onto our hands and knees. Take a moment to move around there. Play with the positioning of your hands. Stretch out your wrists and elbows. You can also tuck your toes under, stretch out your feet. Now come nice and sturdy in your tabletop position. Push down into your hands, pull your belly in. Reach your left leg back in the air behind you like you're going to put your footprint on the wall. Take your right arm out in front and shake hands with someone. Turn your thumbs up. All right, push out a little further, taking a big breath. Now bring your knee and elbow together as you exhale. Press out. Crunch in, squeeze from your ribs and your belly button. Couple more times, move with your breath. Control the connection. Last one, bring it into crunch and release. We'll go right over to the other side. Extend your arm and your leg out. Push strong into the ground. Stretch further through your extension. And then bring it together at the middle and crunch. Couple more times. Try to stay connected with your belly button, drawing in from your core. Last one, bring it in, hold tight, and release. Sink back to child's pose for a second. Take your hips to your heels. You can bring your head down to a block, your forearms, or the ground. Take a moment to rock a little bit side to side. Catch your breath. Or maybe it's just me because I'm talking. All right, come back up to tabletop. Push into your hands. Curl your toes underneath, and then I want you to push into your toes and lift your knees about an inch off of the mat. Now, how far can you walk your toes in and bring your knees to your wrists? Stay on your toes, walk it back, and set back down into your tabletop. Give your wrists a little second there, rolling around. Let's thread the needle. Take your right arm underneath your chest, under your left armpit. You can keep your hips down low. And then your choice, your top arm, your left arm can stay up there, or you could try and reach back to your hip pocket or over to the other side. Take a couple of deep breaths across your upper back and between your shoulder blades. Bring your left hand back down to the mat, push into it, and come up with your right hand to the ceiling. Look at where you're reaching, spread out across your chest and through your armpit. Reach back just a little bit further. Control your hand back down to the ground. Thread through with the opposite side. Take your left arm underneath. Set your hips down. And then you can decide with that right arm if you want to keep it up or try for that bind, reaching back behind you. Stay here for one more breath in and release it out. Take your right hand down to the ground. We're going to come to that twist. Take your left hand all the way up. Push from your shoulder out through your arm and fingertips. Reach back just a little further and release. All right, let's come back into that tabletop with your toes curled under. Lift your knees that 1 inch up. And now this time bring your right knee in and tap your elbow. Take your foot back, left knee, tap, and back, right, back, left, back. One more time each side. Stay up on your toes, keep your knees high, hold here, push strong into your hands. Take in one more big breath and lower down as you exhale. Again, give your wrists a little break, make some circles. All right, if you've got a block handy, we're going to use that. If we're putting it on this medium height here, it's going to go back underneath the fronts of our ankles. So I'm going to go this way just so. All right, then from here, we're going to take our hands down as close to our knees as possible. And then we're coming back into that thing we were playing with earlier. So push your knees up, try to pick them up to your elbows, and put it back down. Again, lift up, lower down. 2 more times. Think cat pose as you round. Tuck in your belly, look underneath. Last one. And release. Again, sit back, roll out those wrists. All right, we've got one more little party trick here. Put your hands back down. We're gonna push into that block. Now this time, can you bring your right heel up to your butt and take it off of the block? And then try the other side. And just go back and forth a couple times. Push strong into your hands. Last time. And release. Whew. All right, so we're all warmed up and prepped for crow pose. If you want to try flying around, a little arm balancing. So your hands are going to come on the ground and you're going to come up onto your feet. Actually, let's hang out in a fold for a couple breaths first. Sway your hips side to side. If you've got your block and the ground's just a little too far away, you can use that. Tuck your chin, let your head hang. All right, set that block off to the side for a second. Just bend up and down a couple times. From that fold down to a squat. All right, and then we're gonna plant into our hands, make a bend into your elbows. And right here, this is the start of crow pose. If you wanna try balancing, you're gonna try lifting one foot up to your butt at a time. You can also try squeezing out the outsides of your arms. Sometimes that makes it a little easier, a little more surface area to grab onto. Keep your gaze out in front of you and just see what happens if you get one foot off. Can you start to tip forward? Nice, keep your gaze out strong, push into your hands. Take just a couple more breaths, a couple more attempts here. If your wrists need a break, roll them out just a little bit. And then we're gonna meet in a yogi squat. With your heels down as close to the mat as you can get them. Sit back, lift your heart up, bring your hands to your heart center. Take a couple of deep breaths, feel that energy, that warmth that you've got going through your body. Stay here for one more breath in, and then we're gonna fold, lift your hips up as you exhale. Halfway lift, press your heart out in front of you. Fold back down. Mountain pose. You can work your feet in closer, stand all the way up tall. Reach to the ceiling, take in a deep breath. Take a little back bend as you exhale. However you want with your arms. Mountain, bring yourself up tall. Fold forward. Halfway lift. Fold. Mountain. Push into your feet, rise up. Back bend. Mountain. Fold. Halfway lift. Fold. Mountain, rise up. Back bend. Let's cycle through a couple more times. Try to shut your eyes as you go through. Challenge your balance, your trust with yourself that you're doing it right. One more time. Meet standing tall with your hands at your heart. Shut down your eyes. With your eyes shut, just start to shift your balance in your feet from the right to the left side. See how far you can tilt to that side before your other foot wants to come up. And then if there was a foot that you were feeling extra sturdy on there, plant into that foot. And then we're gonna come to staff pose with the opposite knee. So bring it up to your chest. Your hands can go wherever you want at this point. But try to lift your knee up in line with your hip. From here, we're gonna go to warrior 3. Press your heel back behind you. Press forward through your head and heart. Again, your hands wherever you want. Staff pose. Stand back up, bring your knee in. Let's try tree next. Step out with your knee. Your foot can be down on the ground or you can keep it up off of the mat there. But press through the outside of your bent knee behind you. Lift up tall with your heart in your chest. Staff pose, bring it back to the center. We're gonna do one more here. Eagle, so you're gonna sit down, cross your leg on top. You can set those toes on the ground for a kickstand or challenge your balance and keep them up. And then if you want a little more, give yourself a hug or even take your arms out in front of you. Lift up from your heart, sit lower into your hips. Stay here for one more breath in and release as you exhale. Sway, shake out your legs. We'll do that same sequence on the other side. So plant down to your opposite foot, lift your other knee up, come into that staff, hold here just for a few seconds. Take that time to notice how you're feeling different on this side. And then we're gonna go back to that warrior 3. Press back through your hip and your heel. Lead out through your head. Staff pose, come back up, squeeze your knee up, hold here. Tree, press your knee out, step somewhere inside of your leg. If you are going to push against your knee, make sure that you keep it in and don't let it kick out to the side and damage anything. Bring it back into staff. And we got our last little pose of the sequence here, going into that eagle. Cross your thighs. You can keep your toes for touchdown, and then take that cross so the opposite arm is on the bottom this time. Squeeze your thighs into the center, elbows in, ribs in. Take one more breath and release. Come down to a fold with wider legs to your mat or even off of the edges. Sway here a little bit side to side. Let's add in a twist. So your right hand can stay on the ground or block. Twist and reach up with your left hand. Reach a little higher, push from your heart. Now control your hand back down. Connect into it as you twist and open to the other side. Again, push from your chest, widen out a little bit more. Control back down. And then let's come into pigeon pose next. So you have options for this one. Alicia's taking one option with a knee forward, leg back. Another option is sitting here, crossing a leg, or even if you don't like this one, you can come down onto your back and bring your knees into your chest. If you want to get yourselves more comfortable in that lying pigeon, go ahead. You can lower down or bring your block in under your chest or your head. Shut down your eyes and take a moment to be present. Like, what can you feel happening in your body right now? Take another 2 or 3 breaths here. Sit with those sensations and watch how they change. Take your time, move out however you need to. Do whatever you want for a second or two. And then we're just gonna move and take that pigeon on the other leg. Take time to adjust things. You can go into one of those other variations on the second side too. Just try to get yourself settled in. Stay here just for a few more breaths, focusing on the feeling of that breath or how a feeling shifts in your body as you breathe. Think about what you want to go do from here. Give yourself a moment for that. And then we're going to end with a back bend today, supported fish. So with your block, it's either going to go underneath your shoulder blades or between your shoulder blades. And then, like for myself, I find if I hold it there and then take myself down to the mat, it's a little easier to recline back. If you don't have a block at home, you can always use a blanket, a pillow. You can also just skip this pose and go into a bridge, or maybe a back bend is just not in it for you today. Take a couple of deep breaths across the front side of your body. Can you pull it between your ribs or in between your sternum? Take just a couple more breaths here. When you are ready, move gently and maybe just roll off to the side. This is also known as seedling pose, just laying off on either side, letting yourself cradle up. Take one more moment to get a little more comfortable if you want to lay flat onto your back. Get into that spot where you can shut down your eyes. Let your legs drop down a little heavier. Feel your hips, your glutes connected heavy into the ground. Follow up through your tailbone to between your shoulder blades and take a couple of deep breaths there. Try to keep your breath just up in that top third of your body, your upper shoulders, your upper back. Now on your next inhale, I want you to fill up your chest and your shoulders, then also fill up your ribs and that middle portion of your back. On the exhale, empty from the middle and then from your chest. And then with the next few breaths, you're going to fill up your chest and then the middle portion, and then all the way down to your belly and your low back. And from the exhale, empty from your belly, then the middle and your upper body. Practice with this for a couple of breaths. This is called a full body breath. It's just a nice way to get your whole core involved, woken up. aware that it's capable of breathing. It's also a breath to symbolize cycle and flushing through your body. Take just a few more of those full body intentional breaths. And let your breath return to natural. Take note of how you're feeling right now. And then take notes of all the little sensations that you can sense when you start to wiggle, stretch, and move. Give yourself a moment to take any stretches that you might need before you can come into a seated position. As you work your way into that seat, wiggle around at your hips a little bit so you can feel the ground underneath you sink into it. As you push further into the ground, lift up from your heart and your head and let your shoulders drop down. Together, through your nose, take in a deep breath. Open your mouth and let it out. We'll end with 3 more together. Bring your hands to your heart. Bow your head to yourself. Set your mood for the rest of the day. Thank you for joining us. Namaste.